All right, today we are kind of getting to the finality of area, and we're going to be dealing with compound figures. Compound figures are not just rectangles, triangles, trapezoids, circles, all those things. It's a combination of lots of different shapes. An example of a compound figure might look like this. That is not what I wanted it to do. It might look like this. And so this is, there's not just one formula that gives me this area, but I might have 10 meters, 12 meters, 3 meters, and 4 meters. I'm going to have this information, and it's going to say, all right, tell me the area of this shape. Well, looking at this, we can't, right off the bat, we can't just say, what is this area? What we need to do when we see a shape like this is we need to break this up into shapes that we know. We're going to break this up into shapes that are known to us. So I'm going to pretend like I can draw a line right here. If I draw a line right here, this gives me two shapes. This gives me one shape that's there, and it gives me one shape that's right there. So now I have two shapes I'm dealing with. I don't know why this one didn't snap into truth, but that's not right. There's two shapes. So now with this two shapes, now I want to figure out the sizing of these shapes. Let's start with the big one. I know my width here. These are both rectangles, so I'm going to use these formulas. So I know my width here is 10 meters. And I know that the total width, actually, yeah, that's fine. The total width here from one end to the other is 12. I know that from one end to the other is 12. Now, I know that this amount is 3. So if this amount is 3 here, what does this amount need to be? Well, that also needs to be 3. And if the total is 12, and I know this much is 3, what does that mean for this side? Well, I do 12 minus 3, and that means that I know that this side here is 9 meters. So this is a shape that is 10 meters by 9 meters. I times those together. 10 by 9 is 90 meters squared. So I know this big shape here is 90 meters squared. And now I can focus on my little shape. My little shape over here. In my little shape, I know that this side is 3 meters, this side is 4 meters, which means my little shape is a grand total of 12 meters squared. And then since these two are next to each other, they're combined. I want to add these two numbers up. 90 plus 12 equals 102 meters squared. My grand total area is 102 meters squared. Now, I probably just flew through that so quickly. Let me do another one, going slow, step by step, figuring out all the things we need. Okay, that was a very quick one. Now let's slow it down a little bit. You kind of know what we're doing. So we're breaking shapes up into littler shapes, and we're trying to solve for the area of those littler shapes. Okay, let's say I have, let's go with, there we go. There's a good straight line. Oops. All right, let's go with this. Here is our compound shape that we want to look for here. Now, let's start giving some measurements so we know. Let's say this is 25 inches. This grand total down here is 30 inches. This side is 8 inches. This is 6 inches. And we can say we know this is 5 inches and this is 6 inches. All right, so these are all the measures we know. We know lots of measures. We know that this right here is actually, hold on, let me do some coloring here because we all love good coloring. So we know this top here is 8 inches. Okay, we know that this side here is 6 inches. We know that this side here is 6 inches. We know that this side here is 5 inches. We know that this side going down is 25 inches. And we know that this side going across is 30 inches. Now, we have a missing side here, which isn't that important for us because we're not trying to solve we don't necessarily need to know the width or the length of this line of our triangle. But we do have some things that we do want to know. So let's break this into some shapes that might be easy for us to figure out. All right, so let's break this into, here is a shape right here. Here, to here, to here, to here. We know that this is an 8 by 6, right? This is 8 by 6. We have a shape that is here, to here, to here, to here. And we know that this is a 5 by, and so we know the length is a combination of these 6 inches and these 8 inches. 6 plus 8 total inches is 14. So this is a 5 by 14. We know that this rectangle down here, is going to be, again, it's the same width, so we know it's 14 by, so this is where we have to do a little bit of figuring out. We know that this height here is 5. We know that this height here is 6, so this is a total of 11. And the whole total is 25. So to figure out our missing length, we're going to do 25 minus 11 for a combination, or a leftover of 14, which I know isn't, but we just kind of have to pretend that it is. So this is 14 by 14 is this shape, because if this is 6, or if this is 6 and this is 5, this has to be a grand total of 25. So it's 6 plus 5 plus something else equals 25. That something else has to be 14. Okay, now we have a triangle, and we know the height of that triangle has to be 14. And the base has to be this. Oh, did I not write this before? This grand total was 30 inches. So if this base is a grand total of 30 inches, Okay, grand total of 30 inches. And we know that this amount here is 14. So this is 14 plus something equals 30. Well, 14 plus 16 equals 30. So we know the base and height of this triangle. We know this height is 14 and this base is 16. Now, remember, all these things, they're not to scale. So yes, my drawing is not perfectly accurate. It's fine. It happens. But we can still do the math with the numbers we have. All right, so now let's find the measure of this. This is 8 times 6. This is 48 inches squared. Down here we have a 5 times 14, which would be 70 inches squared. Down here we have a 14 by 14, which would be 196 inches squared. And then over here we have a triangle, so we're going to use this formula. We have a triangle with base times height divided by 2. So we're going to do 14 times 16 divided by 2 equals 112. Now, we will go through this tomorrow. If you're struggling to figure out how to find some of these measures, we will go through this tomorrow. My suggestion, my plea to you is to write out these shapes. See how I drew these shapes out? And I had to do a little bit of figuring out. This is called logic, a little bit of logic to figure out what each shape is supposed to be. You're going to have to use a little bit of logic to figure out your shapes. Now, my total area, I'm going to add all of these together. 48 plus 70 plus 196 plus 112 equals a grand total area of 426 inches squared. All right. Take a breath. Breathe, breathe, breathe. We will be okay. We will figure this out some more. We'll work on this together tomorrow. I will see you all then. Please come with questions. Please come ready to solve these things out together. Have a great night.